going to be showing you an in-depth tutorial and a video demonstration on how we're going to apply the gel pads and the application process using your classic lashes, your glue, and then going through the picking up of the lashes and the isolating in a more in-depth video. If you were dealing with a client, you would want to make sure that the lashes are cleansed properly. Okay, so to start off with, you want to make sure that your tools are sanitized with a disinfectant or alcohol swab. So basically a pair of gel pads each come in their own packet. So you don't want to open up these until you're with your client, just due to hygiene reasons. So the inner part of the gel pad goes in the inside of the eye, and the larger part goes on the outside of the eye. So that's always handy to remember. So basically, once you take them off, you just peel the backing. And as mentioned, the smaller part goes in the inner part of the eye. If we were dealing with a real client, as mentioned prior, we would need to cleanse her natural lashes or his natural lashes first, just to remove any excess oils and to prepare them for the primer. And in your kit, you would have also received practice strip lashes, starting from one side and grabbing just the band, because we don't want to break them. And we just slowly and gently grab one side and just pull it across, just like so. Trying to basically mimic the natural lashes here, so we can get a feel for what it's like to isolate, and to also get a feel for what it's going to be like and where your hand is going to be positioned during the service. Using your 2 micro swabs, we're going to prime. Obviously the primer goes on the micro swabs, and you want to prime from base to the tips, or roots to the tips. Obviously the roots are what produces the most oils, because that's where all the pores are. And as we learnt earlier, we do produce sweat and we have oil glands. And these are one of the things that can affect the retention. Now, I also forgot to mention that once you put your pads down, if you find that there are still some lashes that are coming through, some bottom lashes, that's where our tape comes in handy. So what we want to do is we just want to cut 4 pieces, 2 for each eye. Just about that long. And at this point, you'll have the client open their eye, so that way you have clear access to the bottom of their lashes. We don't want to see any of the bottom lashes coming through or any skin. Also be mindful not to go too close to the inner part of the eye where the whites are, or where back in the day we used to put our eyeliner. We want to make sure that we don't touch that bit, just because it can be a little bit irritating for the client. And if the top lashes do get stuck, you can always just use your tweezer like so, get underneath them and lift them back up again. But the preparation is very important. You want to make sure that everything is nice and organized and ready to go. Now at this point, you'll ask your client if they're comfortable or if the tape or pads are irritating their eyes at all. you can adjust them. A lot of the times that you'll find that the clients will be irritated in the outer corner. So what you would basically do is you just get your tweezer, lift up, and just pull down, just to readjust, and then ask them again if they're comfortable. A lot of the time they won't say anything until asked first, and if the pads or the tape are irritating them, what that means is that they're just too close to the inner part of the eye and they're just rubbing the eyeball, which can cause redness and irritation. This is not to be confused with an allergic reaction, and the symptoms usually will subside within 4 to 48 hours. Once we've cleansed, applied the pads, tape, primed the lashes, we then have already set up our lashes because this would have been in our consultation process. So what I have here is 9, 10 and 11 in D curl. And I have my little glue plate just here. You would have also received a glue. The parts to this glue basically are medical grade eyelash extension adhesive. Don't stress too much if you didn't get this exact same version. They're all the same, we're just trialing different packaging, that's all. You'll then receive an adhesive wipe. This is really good and imperative for using straight after you've popped your glue onto the little glue palette, and just to wipe around the lid, just to make sure that there's no excess around the lid. This can cause drying. I actually have one that I have left really, really bad on purpose just to show you what it can look like. This is a over dramatization, obviously. It's also important to add the date that you open the glue on the bottle, even on a piece of tape, just so you can clearly read when it was opened, because 4 weeks later you'll know that you'll need to dispose of it and open up a fresh glue. Every time you do open the glue, obviously you're allowing more air into the bottle and it can oxidize over time. You want to shake it for about a minute prior. Alright, now it doesn't matter if you use a jade stone, one of these, a glue sticker, as long as when you're using the stone, as mentioned, it needs to be a bubble, and you don't want to go underneath that bubble, you want to go just through the top. So now we're going to grab our tweezers. So the one that's shaped like this, I like to use for isolating, and the shorter one that's this shape, I like to use for picking up. These are also great for volume, so they're multi-purpose tweezers that you can use for both classic and volume. Now the first step is your isolating. So making sure that your hand is resting comfortably on the client's head. You can use your tweezers to sift through the lashes until you get one in between the tweezers. Now my hand is quite comfortable on the client's head, which means that while I'm picking up my lash, I don't have to worry about my hand moving and losing position of where it is. So it's important that you don't try and hover over the client's head, as I see a lot of people do. It's okay to rest your hand on their head, and it means that you're going to be comfortable and your hand won't move. Just like so. So the strips come just like this, and you'll notice that they're all singles on one strip. Now depending on if you're left hand or right hand, obviously if you're right handed this will need to be on your right side, and your picking up tweezer will be your right hand. If I'm doing 9, 10, 11 and my client wants a cat eye, now I know I haven't mapped out the lashes because this is focusing more on just the isolating and the picking up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up one singular lash, just like so. Now picking it up on a 90-degree angle will help you a lot when it comes to placing in the glue. Just like so. And also for the application, because you need to make sure that you get the angle correctly. I'm going to apply one to the middle of the lash. So if I'm doing a 9, 10 and 11, I would be starting off with the shorter lashes in the inner corner, then the middle section a 10, then towards the third quarter and outer would be a 11. So let's start one off for the middle. So with my hands comfortably resting, I'm going to sift through the lashes and find just one singular lash. Now we all know the importance of making sure that we're only getting one isolated lash. So picking up my lash, dipping in the glue, coming in on the right angle. If you lose it, it's all good. You can grab it again. Applying a mil to 2 millimeters away from the lash line. Hold, 2, 3, and let go. So let's do an 11 on the outer corner. So I'm going to come in, pick up my lash, just a little bit of glue as we learnt before, coming in on a correct angle, hold for 1, 2, 3, and let go. You can use 2 tweezers to isolate, if that helps you. We want to make sure that we have a nice and steady hand, that way whilst we're picking up the lash, we're not disturbing the isolated lash that we've got. Try not to dip your excess glue onto the pad, just because that can cause some irritation with the fumes. I'll pick that one up again, just because I left it for a little bit too long, the glue may have dried. We don't want to put more glue over the top because that's extra weight. So dipping in the glue, coming in, matching the angle that the lash is facing. And a mil to 2 mils away from the lash line. Hold, 1, 2, 3. And there we go. Tapping helps for making sure that there is symmetry between the 2 eyes, which is really important. That's why it's important just to make sure, especially that you go through a thorough consultation with your client too, to make sure that what you're applying is what they've asked for and what's safe for their natural lashes. The more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. Making sure that they're all straight as well is really important. Mapping is really good if you're starting out, because you'll be so focused on, isolating and picking up the lashes that sometimes you'll forget the placement, which is equally as important. And as a beginner, we recommend you moving from eye to eye to allow the glue to dry in between. If it drops a little bit like that, you can always grab your tweezer and to straighten it back up again. Looking good, right? Now, a little trick to get in the inner corners. What we would do is we'll get a piece of tape. Get a piece of tape, just like so. And then what you would do is you would put it just there. Hold it. Grab the other end and just slide across. Now what that does is that just opens the lashes a little bit more to create more space in between, which can be really, really handy. Another trick is if the lashes are downward facing too much and you find that when you're isolating that they're touching the pad because of how downwards they're sloping. Same size tape, but instead we're going to put it this way and pull up just a little bit though. You make sure that you can't see the inside of their eye and that they're just slightly lifted. Obviously you don't want to allow any fumes to come in.